Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the virtual program today, Mission Focused Leadership with Dr. Emilie Socash. I'm Brittany Spillman, and I serve as the Carey Center Director of the Community and Collegiate Programs. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to thank this year's Community and Collegiate Program sponsors who have pledged support for our efforts in providing meaningful programming for the nonprofit sector. Thank you to Auburn University Outreach, the Community Foundation of East Alabama, the United Way of Central Alabama, the River Region United Way, KPMG, Auburn University Outreach Office of Public Service, the Drummond Thorne Stooks Fund for Excellence, and a community service grant made possible by State Senator Randy Price and State Representative Joe Lovern. Emilie is the founder and CEO of the Nonprofit Help Center, which she founded in 2018 after working in the nonprofit sector for over 20 years. She holds a master's in nonprofit management and a doctoral degree in organizational and leadership psychology. And her doctoral dissertation focused on psychological factors related to donor behavior. In 2021, her company launched the Merit Nonprofit Professional Development Platform, an online capacity building system that is designed just for nonprofit teams, which now supports over 400 nonprofits and the thousands of people who work at them nationwide. She has published 2 books on personal mission statement development and works to use her words to improve the world. Emilie is an avid traveler, reader, and believer in the power of people to make great things happen. Please welcome Dr. Socash.
Well, thank you so much, Brittany. It's like really not every time I hear that, I've heard it plenty, but every time I hear it, it's like, yeah, that is what I do. That is what I am here for. And I am so happy to be here with all of you today. I think we're going to really going to spend some meaningful time together getting into the nitty-gritty of what mission-focused leadership is. So as Brittany said, my name is Emilie, and I have a lot of great content and info and resources to share out with you. Sometimes these things tend to trend towards monologue, but please let this be a dialogue. I have on my second screen, I have my chat window open. So when you see me looking over there, it's just because I'm reading the words that you all are writing. So please use this as a time in whatever way makes the most sense for you. So if you are, I just want to give everybody this like first authorization. If you are in that space where you're like, I am in listen mode only, I'm going to walk away with 1 gem. Perfect. So happy to have you here. And that is enough. If you want to be on the chat, that's great. If you want to come on to the audio, come on to the video, more power to you. However you want to show up today is how we want you to experience this. So please know I'm here for it all. Now, my goal for our time together today is really to make sure that we all walk away with a sense of why mission-focused leadership is essential in today's nonprofit sector. Now, that's a little bit corporate speak. So let's take it down to really the heart of this. I'm hoping that all of you walk away in like 45 minutes, 55 minutes time thinking, I have 1 or 2 new ideas of how I can hone in on my personal leadership in my role today and whatever might come down the road for me in the nonprofit sector tomorrow, many tomorrows from now. So let's start off with some definitions. So I always think it's good to kind of set the table on what is it that we're really talking about. In this case, what are we talking about with mission-focused leadership? I think of it in 3 components. So I think of it as the mission, the focus, and the leadership. So mission first. So a mission is a pre-established and often self-imposed objective or purpose, or a calling. All of our organizations have mission statements. So that's a statement of what that organization's mission is. And I think of mission as living in this little wedge between values and vision. So our values really inform what our mission is. Like, what is the change that we want to make in the world? What is that thing that we stand for? And then there's the vision, which is why that kind of matters. So our mission is squarely in between those two things. Missions exist at the organizational level. And if you happen to pick up my latest book, Mission Statement Magic, you'll know it also exists at the personal level. The important thing here with mission is that it is pre-established. This is something that we have thought about, and it is self-imposed. So it's where we say, you know what? This is the priority for this organization or for me. That's what makes it a mission. Now, focus. Focus has 3 components to it. And I have one that is like actually my favorite to talk about. So focus is all about centering our attention, our attraction, and our activity. Now, my favorite go-to, if I'm doing nothing else to build my leadership, I am looking to really cultivate my attention. If any of you are like me, you find that lure of Instagram or Reels or TikTok to really gain your attraction. But it's your attention that is your most valuable resource, regardless of what setting you're in. You're at work, you're at home, you're at your kid's soccer game. Your attention is your most valuable resource. So when we focus, that's where we have locked in our attention, where we're putting our brain power. We also can focus relevant to the things that we are attracted to, the things we are drawn to put our energy into. That's kind of when we reach those flow states where I am doing this thing and I just feel like it's natural. I enjoy it. Time is slipping by. That's your attraction. That's a way of focusing. And then also activity. So that's when we put physical, actual activity towards something. Now, leadership, that's the 3rd component here of mission-focused leadership. Leadership is that activity that we do when we guide as if we are ahead of somebody. You know, think of a tour guide. Or leadership is when we direct the course that we're going to take ourselves or our teams or our families or our friends. It's not telling us how we're going to get there. It's telling us where we're going. And also leadership can mean to be in charge of or to have charge of something. So as I was preparing for our time together today, I wanted to kind of get some ideas, some new lenses to think through mission-focused leadership. And I came up with this interesting perspective on it. And this is kind of a fuzzy little graphic that I grabbed from, of all places, the U.S. Army's Handbook on Mission-Focused Leadership. Now, different kinds of mission here, right? But at first I laughed. Then I saw, you know what? There's a lot of alignment here between the work that we do in the nonprofit sector and the U.S. Army's perspective on mission-focused leadership. So I grabbed this screenshot because I thought it's a kind of nice jumping off point as we unpack the attributes of mission-focused leadership. So looking at these attributes, the Army slices and dices this into 3 attributes: character, presence, and intellect, as well as these building competencies of leading, developing, and achieving. Now let's look at these in kind of a clearer setting. So in the Army's lens, character includes Army values, empathy, a warrior and service ethos, and discipline. The presence attributes are military and professional bearing, fitness, confidence, and resilience. And then the intellectual attributes are mental agility, sound judgment, innovation, interpersonal tact, and expertise. So if we take those and we say, well, what does that look like in the nonprofit sector? How different is it? Truth be told, it's not that different. When we look at character, I made the tinker to, rather than Army values, we have our organizational values that we look to lean into. We have empathy, the same. We have a service ethos. Regardless of our missions, all of us really do drill into that service ethos, the servant leadership, and we all have tremendous discipline. When it comes to presence, again, professional bearing, typically not so military, but professional bearing. Rather than fitness, fitness is great, but I reshifted this into wellness. So much of the work that we require so much of our work requires that we have a sense of wellness, to dig deep into our personal reserves. So wellness speaks to me, confidence and resilience. And then intellect, really, all of us share the same core attributes when we're pursuing our mission-focused leadership that those of U.S. Army members, leaders, and all the ranks of the Army. I'm not an Army person, so I don't know what they are, but I will tell you, we have a lot of similarities with the Army. Now, leadership, though, isn't about really making sure that a mission happens. Rather, fun fact, 76% of nonprofit professionals struggle to differentiate between when mission-focused leadership is needed and when operational management is needed. Now, I did give you the little note. It's not a real statistic. This is actually just a number that kind of feels right to me. When I'm working with my nonprofit teams and leaders, it is at least 3 out of 4 times, maybe even 4 out of 5 times in a conversation that we are coming back to, Emilie, help me think through, what do I need to do in this circumstance? What are my choices? And my coachee will list off several choices, many of which fall into management, when in fact, let's unpack where leadership is really needed. So with that in mind, we're going to do a little compare-contrast between leadership and management to really get ourselves able to hone in on the leadership side of the coin. So this is a great time to mention to you that after our time together today, Brittany's going to share out a link to this deck. It's an interactive deck. And with that in mind, this little icon here that you'll see on several of the slides, this is a link out to whatever resource was used for this particular page and something I think you'd find interesting. I'm not one to throw a lot of external resources towards you unless I find them to be really, really valuable. So this one happens to be from the Harvard Business Review. And one of the Harvard leadership professors was interviewed for this piece on leadership versus management. And he shared these 2 thoughts, which I think are amazing. And so follow along with me and then kind of brace yourself for the second half of this. So he said, leadership is the creation of positive, non-incremental change, including the creation of a vision to guide that change, a strategy, the empowerment of people to make the vision happen despite obstacles, and the creation of a coalition of energy and momentum that can move that change forward. Now, I only read those words, but I will tell you that that soapbox is something that I would listen to every day of the week. That is inspiring. That is leadership. Management. This is the same guy. He said management is getting the confused, misguided, unmotivated, and misdirected to accomplish a common purpose on a regular, recurring basis. Ooh, ouch. That, when I think of my colleagues, my teammates, I don't think of them as confused, misguided, unmotivated, and misdirected. But when I sat with this for a moment and I put aside my offense, I thought, you know what? When we don't show up as our best leadership self, we may bring up these feelings of being misguided, a feeling of being unmotivated or misdirected. In fact, this is not a comment on our people, but rather a void or a vacuum of leadership. That's where management steps in to help organize a process towards a vision. So with that in mind, there's 3 core differences between leadership and management that I think are relevant for us moving into that development of our own personal mission-focused leadership. So leadership, this is where we have a vision for change. Big vision, not a lot of nuts and bolts necessarily of how we're going to get there. Management is about improving or even creating the process to make that change happen. Leadership is about aligning, whether it's aligning values, aligning resources, aligning a coalition, aligning decision makers in the community, influential and powerful people, aligning. Management is organizing. So, okay, we have our coalition built. Let's figure out who's doing what by when. And leadership follows the person, while management follows the position. And you may have heard that before. And I will make one request of you. If you walk away from our time together today, remembering nothing else but this, remember this, that leadership follows the person and management follows that position. So you can be a development manager or a HR manager. That's great. But you could also be a leader if your title does not include manager, does not include director, does not include executive. Leadership is within that person. So let's take a minute to do just a little bit of real talk. And this is a good opportunity for all of you to think if you want to chime in on the chat and see if any of these trends, challenges, approaches, see if any of this resonates with you in your organization. Now, I will understand if you don't want to particularly fess up, because here are a few things that are challenging in our nonprofit sector from a leadership perspective. And again, keep in mind, I've given you a really, really great resource. I mean, this is a must read, this one here. So when you go back to this deck, pop over to slide 7. This is a link worth clicking into. So some of the unique aspects of nonprofit sector leadership is that often when we enter into a leadership role, we are often pushed, not pulled. So what do I mean by that? So let's say that let's say it's the executive director. An executive director announces that he or she is leaving the organization. They're going on to whatever their next chapter is. We're so happy for them. It's great. And there are so many things that our organization is doing in the community. And we know that that person that's over in development, that they've been doing a really great job. And it would just be so much easier if we moved that person into or to be considered for that top role. And whether that person wants it or not, we kind of do this. Now, that is not necessarily true of all organizations. So some of your organizations are really top-notch in this regard. You're developing, you're cultivating, you're doing searches. That's great. But there is a trend towards we push into leadership because sometimes it's the most efficient way to get that job filled. Sometimes, and I'm going to guess that this resonates with many of you, sometimes we have some magical considerations of the doability of the job. So remember, leaders come at all levels. So this is not about the position, but this is about being a leader in the nonprofit sector. How doable is the role? Sometimes we think, well, you know what? Brittany is so efficient. She is so effective. We can give her this project. And then we can give her this project. And then we can give her this project. And now the role has expanded beyond to a superhuman level. So that is one of the unique aspects of the nonprofit sector that we contend with. We also often see that there is an unleveraged amount of support from the predecessor in a role. So someone leaves the organization, someone moves up in the organization, and there is a void left. Somebody fills that void, but there is not often enough the cross support wherein leadership can continue to be developed across roles, across levels. We also have a fair number of isms that affect our leadership development in the nonprofit sector. Pick your ism, it is present in many organizations. When I say isms, yes, I'm meaning ageism, sexism, racism, ableism, any other ism. They often are a little bit louder in our nonprofit sector family staffs than in our for-profits or in entrepreneurial settings. And then finally, there is this funny thing. I want to say it's a trend, and I hope that it's a trend that declines over time, but this challenge of co-appointments. a co-appointment is when there is just so much to do in leading this organization or leading this initiative or leading this department that we really need co-directors or co-leaders. And that's fine. However, there's an inherent challenge to that. And when I work with an organization and I see that there is a co-position, we are co-directors, we're co-execs. That tells me that this organization has not taken the time to establish what proper leadership looks like and the division of duties according to the skills and strengths of the team members, as well as the needs of the organization. So co's can be fun, but it is a leadership challenge. So within all of these things, and don't worry, this is the low point of our whole time together. It's all uphill from now. These things can be remedied by our own personal leadership development. So let's talk about what it looks like to develop mission-focused leadership at the personal level. So we're going to do 3 different exercises here, and I'm hoping that some of you will share what speaks to you. It's an open invitation. By no means is it required. So let's talk about strategies, then we'll talk about techniques, and then we'll talk about kind of a final reflection with flexibility, resilience, and reflection. So strategies for developing mission-focused leadership fall into those 3 areas. It's kind of a nice way to slice and dice our bucket here. So let's first talk about what is a strategy. So strategy is a means of moving towards a goal over a length of time. It's kind of the leadership version of thinking long-term. So our strategies they're a means of asking ourselves, what is my long-range view? Which direction am I heading? So with your mission, one idea for a strategy is look for your personal values alignment with your organization's mission. So if you have, for example, one of my personal values is authenticity, showing up authentically, showing up as my quirky, kooky self. When I have worked in the nonprofit sector before, it was really important to me to see that whatever the mission of the organization was, that it aligned in an authentic way for me. And when I had any static within a role or within a project, I would look and see, is there a values misalignment? Is authenticity lacking? Is creativity lacking? Is a commitment to community lacking? The other way to consider how to leverage our mission-focused leadership in the mission domain is to find the example of why you care. So here's a prompt for you. I'm going to hum the Jeopardy music for like 30 seconds. I really won't, but I'm going to wait about 30 seconds. I would love to hear in the chat or on audio, why do you care about the organization with which you work? And I'm gonna press my timer for 30 seconds, and I want to see. Type in something or come on audio and tell us why. Thank you, Stephanie. Breaking the ice. Excellent. I love it. And Stephanie, drop in there what you do. Like what the mission is.
I can try to be brave and speak.
Yeah, Teresa, go for it. I would love to hear your voice.
Oh, Opelika Chamber, I love it. So I wear 2 hats, but I'm here representing Circles Opelika, and we're a poverty reduction program. And I work full time, and I'm also pursuing my doctorate, so I don't have a lot of extra time, but I make time for Circles because I've worked in the space of poverty for a long, long time, and when I found circles and what they do. I couldn't figure out why it worked, but I knew it worked. And so I knew I needed to be a part of it. And so I'm so passionate about it because I finally figured out it works because of relationships and that consistency and that commitment to showing up for folks that don't always have that makes me, I've fallen in love with it. And it aligns with who I want to be as a person and how I want to show up in the world. So that is why I'm committed to this organization and why I want to keep doing what we're doing with it.
Now, and Teresa and I have never met before, right, Teresa?
Right.
Okay, good. And she's not getting paid for this. So I will tell you, that was the model line of thinking. If you were to watch this recording back and you were to zoom ahead to, minute 25, and you see Teresa said, and I captured two of the things. She said 4 amazing things, but I captured 2 because they came kind of rapid fire. She started off by saying, I make time for this because. That is such a great prompt. And I see that we've got lots happening over here on the chat. We're going to call that out too. But I make time for this. She's super busy, right? She's doing all the things and she's doing her doctoral work. She makes the time for what matters. That is such a great bellwether for our mission-focused leadership. Not just the leadership of like, oh, people listen to me and everybody loves working with me, but it's really, I make the time because this aligns with my mission. It's worth my time. The other thing that she said is this organization really reflects how I want to show up. Ooh, that is so good. That is so good. And I'm going to scan over here because I see that Amy is loving how their agency is mission driven. Marcy's really committed to seeing women succeed and caring about treating children as full people. I'm going to guess that that's how Marcy wants to show up, right? I see Amanda is all about student success and what students need and rewarding people for changing their lives for the better. Camille is really amped up about helping a population that is stigmatized and hurting. A few of you said that you love seeing the change. You love seeing like the progress, the difference, the positive outcomes. That's what Nikki said. I love seeing the amazing positive outcomes. And then we also have Catherine, who is all about community and the business side of things. So each of you, gold star stuff here, because you're identifying, yeah, like my organization does great work, but this is why it matters to me. This is why I want to spend my time here. This is how I want to show up. Okay, so now you've done the first third of your strategy. Good job, everybody. So now, as we're thinking about becoming that future mission-focused leadership that you can be, then we can think about our focus. So thinking long-term about our focus, this is something I do a lot personally, partially because I find it fascinating, but also because it helps me be forgiving with myself in what I can accomplish during a day. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but you'll see me talk about looking at the doability of our day in a moment. If you're an overlister like I am, knowing yourself and your ability to focus helps you understand where your leadership energies are best spent. So for me, my attention is highest first thing in the morning, lowest in the afternoon. Typically, it could change, depending on the day. I know that activity is great for me in the afternoon when I don't have to put a lot of attention to it. That's when I'm catching up on emails and I'm doing some Canva designs and I'm just, kind of doing some of those things that are less strategic and more doey. The other thing that can really help you in developing your mission-focused leadership is defining what attention success looks like in your world. Everybody has different bandwidths at different times of the day, at different times of the week. But what does it look like for you when you are really being as attentive as you think you can and want to be? So when I say that, have any of you ever experienced what I call a beast mode day? Because beast mode, to me, beast mode means I have high attention and high activity. And it's also kind of a rare happening. It would do me a disservice if I were to expect myself to be in beast mode every day, but rather I know that high attention should happen for a couple hours of my day. And that to me is what success looks like. I'm a leadership psychologist, and that's the bare minimum standard that I hold myself to. I don't encourage you to be very, very, to be hard on yourself, but rather to really look to embrace that leadership attention that you can give. Now, on the leadership side, strategies. Something that I think is a fun exercise is to analyze the gap between the now you and the future you. So we have everybody on this call is kind of at different leadership levels within the organization, different points in time in your professional journey. The today you might be, I don't have anybody that reports to me, but my future you, I would love to have a team that I lead, a team of 2, a team of 4. You might be at a place where you're kind of in the middle of your career journey and you have some folks who you lead or some initiatives that you lead. And you would love to be seen and to show up as a leader with executive leadership, with the C-level folks in your organization or the board. You can really look at, where am I at today? Where do I want to be in the future? Future meaning 12 months, maybe 24 months. And then the other way to really look at and understand your mission-focused leadership is to think through your own leadership preference, your leadership style. Some folks are naturally great with a coach style leadership. Others are a little bit more directive and assertive. Whatever your natural resonance is, it's great to identify that and understand it so you can really leverage the strengths of it. And that can be done with any number of online leadership style quizzes. They're not very scientific, but they are usually very helpful in understanding yourself. They're reflective. Now, let's talk about techniques. So we're going to go through those same 3 groups, but techniques are going to be our tactics. These are things we can do. Now, when we look at, I'm going to go back one second. When we look at strategies, these are things that are called adaptive leadership techniques, because strategies, it's hard to know if you've done something or if you've done it completely. But when we talk about techniques, these are really yes or no things. So consider writing a personal mission statement. One of the best ways to get centered, grounded, really confident in your own mission-focused leadership is to know what your mission is yourself, because that's going to be a measure, kind of a little bit of a yardstick against which your current organization, any future nonprofits that you work with or boards that you sit on, that will be a yardstick against which you can compare. There are organizations in my community that do amazing work that I would never be drawn to work with or particularly support in any active way, because it doesn't really align with my mission statement. I think they're great, but that doesn't mean that's where I'm going to put my leadership efforts. You also might want to, and I think that this is a fun exercise, particularly for those who just participated in the chat and even those quiet ones. Let's work on developing our personal elevator pitch. So here's what I mean by that. A personal elevator pitch is why your work matters to you. So let's say that we'll use one of my clients as an example. So one of the organizations that my team works with is this organization out in San Francisco called Not One More Vet. And it is a suicide prevention organization that targets reducing veterinarian suicide. So when I started working with them a couple of years ago, I didn't even know anything about their mission. I've since fallen in love with it because I think they do great work. Now, one of their team members shared with me that he really likes the mental health and suicide prevention aspect of their organization's work. He doesn't particularly, he's not drawn towards the veterinarian aspect of it, but he loves that it is helping a specific, well-defined population address a mental health crisis. And so his elevator pitch would be something like, at Not One More Vet, or NOMV as they call it. At NOMV, we work to reduce suicide among veterinarians. But the thing I love about it is that we're developing new mental health models that happen in small businesses across the nation. So I'm going to challenge each of you. I'm going to hum that Jeopardy theme song again for 30 seconds. See if you can drop in a really, really draft, scratchy version of your personal elevator pitch of why you like what you do. Okay, go. I think that I might have stumped everybody, and that's okay. So as you're going forward in your day and closing out your week tomorrow, look for opportunities in your work to identify, wait, this is a project that really is speaking to me. I'm in a state of flow. I'm really just jazzed to tell my spouse, tell my friends about this. That is your personal elevator pitch. Okay, we have Stephanie. She jumped in. Seeing someone succeed when they're at their lowest is a proud moment. So I can only imagine that. That sounds amazing. So, Stephanie has an organization that does a host of things, a host of services, but her elevator pitch is, why I love working here is because I get this personal pride from helping when they're at their lowest moments. Okay, good. We have Marcy is jumping in, watching girls and adults grow in their own leadership journey. Amazing. Stephanie loves those small milestones that they count for something. And Gabby, thank you, Gabby. I'm deeply passionate about what I do because each day holds the promise of reaching new heights, touching lives that have yet to be touched, unlocking boundless potential. I mean, when you bring in that the work that I do helps me tap into my own and others' boundless potential, unlocking boundless potential, how could you not feel good about getting up in the morning? Being a leading catalyst for a better, is it Apalika? I don't know the community name, so I'm probably butchering that, and I apologize. She loves where she lives. That's amazing. And then Audrey adds in, I'm working with students, showing them the importance of working towards goals. I'm a big goal person too, so I would really thrive in that. I enjoy seeing people enhance their skills through educating themselves. So these are your personal elevator pitches. And when you are firm, clear, and really distinct in understanding your why, you will find that your leadership, it starts to just raise and level up. Now let's talk about how we use some techniques for focus. It is a rare occurrence when I am having a conversation with either one of my own employees or one of my coachees or one of my teams that's on our learning platform where mindfulness does not come up. Mindfulness is one of these squirrely things that it feels like a waste of time. It feels painful to do when you start with it. It doesn't feel super pleasant, and you kind of don't necessarily even want to tell anybody that you're doing it. But it is this secret superpower that builds your focus, it builds your clarity, brings a calmness to your heart. Sometimes we work in very difficult situations. We work with people who, as one of our attendees said, people are at their lowest. That is heavy on your heart as well. Mindfulness, a small practice, is such a key to unlock so much vision for your own mission-focused leadership. I will repeat, I rarely make recommendations on resources unless I find that they are super, super, super amazing. And the Smiling Mind app is the one that I do recommend 100 times over for a mindfulness and meditation practice. Here's why. It was developed by the Department of Health for the country of Australia. It's free, and you get these wonderful Australian voices that are just like soothing you and walking you through a whole host of mindfulness for sleep, mindfulness for stress, mindfulness for everyday mindfulness foundation. So consider it. I don't get anything from it, but it's a really, really great resource. Great for kids too. Then also coming back to that doability, I mentioned I was going to bring this back. Doing a daily doability exercise for your own focus on how you want to show up as a leader is really, really great. I am a lister. My list for the day often looks like a brain dump of everything I want to accomplish for the rest of my life. Going through and filtering out what we really must or can do in a day as a doability exercise can really help you generate that focus where your mission can thrive in your leadership. And then finally, in your leadership, one great technique is to catalog your strengths. I'm a big fan of the Clifton Strengths Finder, but you can also do self-reflection and say, you know what, these are my 3 core strengths. I know this about myself. You can ask your friends, your colleagues, your spouse, what do you think my strengths are? You don't have to get super scientific about it to just know these are the strengths I'm bringing to my leadership. And then, and here is a concept that some of you may know about, but it's not something that often comes up. Look for opportunities to practice first followership. Now, a first follower is really critical to leadership, and it's a critical piece of becoming the leader that you want to be. Now, I'm going to, and I'm hoping that the technology works for us right now, I'm going to play you a 3-minute video about being the first follower. So let's hope that the audio works. Brittany, if there's any reason that it doesn't, just shout out. Okay. So I hope that this is the best 3 minutes of your day. If you've seen this before, just enjoy.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons.
So just a quick check. Is the audio coming through? Yes,
Yes.
perfect. Okay. Okay, so we're building a mission in 3 minutes. Here we go.
First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out, you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
So I saw a couple smiles in the group. This is from 2010, so it's gotten some great play, and I love using it as often as possible because there are so many leadership lessons within this, right? What a good reflection of when do I need to be a leader and when do I need to potentially be that first follower? Being a first follower gives you so much opportunity to show your own leadership, to be supportive of somebody else's leadership, and to help a lone nut start a movement, because followership can actually be leadership, just that you're, one step behind that first person, that first lone nut. Okay, let's do a closing reflection. So this, again, this is per your comfort. So if you are the type of person who loves to jot things down with a pencil like I do, go for it. Use your phone, type on your laptop, or just sit and have a moment and think on these thoughts. Let's bring together what we've learned with a little bit of a reflection. So as you think about yourself as a mission-focused leader, regardless of your role, regardless of your title, where can you lean into flexibility in your leadership? So that's the first prompt. We're kind of thinking on that one. Then let your mind wander to how is one of your current leadership challenges building your resilience? I often think of leadership challenges kind of like leg day at the gym. Like they're really hard to get through. They're really hard to recover from, but they really are good for us. So what's your leadership leg day? And then finally, why does investing in time for reflection, just like we're doing right now, taking a moment to say, wait, my work can wait for just a moment, I'm going to reflect. Why does reflection matter to my leadership development? So I'm going to watch the clock for 60 seconds. Feel free to share. Feel free to keep this personal. These really are personal reflections. And take a moment to yourself. About 30 seconds. And I have two little treats for everybody when our 30 seconds is done. Okay, everyone. So as you are going forward, the rest of today into tomorrow is Friday. Amazing. Bring with you these ideas of flexibility, resilience, and taking the time to invest in reflection. Now, as I mentioned just a moment ago, I have two little treats for you. I just want to highlight two opportunities that you have to continue to invest in your own leadership, the leadership in your nonprofit. I love this quote by Indra. She is, her name probably looks familiar to you. She is, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, she took the role of president and CEO at PepsiCo. She was the first woman of color to lead a Fortune 500 company. And she says, if you want to improve the organization, which we all do, you have to improve yourself. And the organization gets pulled up with you. So each of you who are spending time today with me and with Brittany and the Carey Center and Auburn, each of you has that potential. You have that power within you to pull up your organizations through your own dedication to your own leadership. When you see this deck, be sure to click on this recommended link out. It's an hour-long interview with Indra. She's amazing. Okay, so 2 little treats. So are you ready? Here's one of my treats for you today. So for those of you who don't know, and I did see a couple familiar names on our attendee list today who already know about the certificate program, but My organization, the Nonprofit Help Center, and our learning platform, Merit Nonprofit Professional Development, we partner up with Auburn and the Carey Center to offer a nonprofit professional certificate. It is an amazing experience. It gives you a year of content that you can access, personal learning plans, quizzes, certificate, like all the things that you would want. Also, FYI, it's micro learning and it's really mobile friendly. So you have 15 minutes, you can do some learning and get on with your day. So if you are interested in that, you will want to either contact Brittany or you will click on this little link up here. The second little perk I have for you today is that if you're not at a place where you're like, I'm not going to do the certificate right now because I'm making a job change. I'm really quite busy right now. It's just not on my radar. Think about building out a better board. Everybody who is on this call today, everybody who is affiliated with the Carey Center gets our board love discount in February. This is just for board members. This is the full board for the full year. And I encourage you to check out this site as well. This is our other product that is all about building a better board in addition to building better staff. So we have about 10 minutes left. I would welcome comments, questions, suggestions, feedback, curiosities, or any like, hey, Emily, what do you think of this? This is your time to shine. And once again, thank you all for your active participation and for showing up today. And I'm going to stop my share. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure that someone out there is crafting a very well worded question in the chat. If that's you, I encourage you to join us on audio so that we can talk about it. Or Brittany, if you want to use this time to highlight any of the amazing things that the Carey Center has coming up.
Yes, I will go ahead and just give you my closing comments while y'all are thinking about your questions and this amazing time with Emily. So, Dr. Socash, thank you so much for a wonderful program. Everyone, you'll be getting an email from me with a link to today's presentation and the recording and an opportunity to sign up to be a Carey Center nonprofit affiliate. The Carey Center Nonprofit Affiliate Program currently serves over 300 nonprofits in Alabama and beyond, and offers educational programming, professional development, and networking opportunities to nonprofit professionals. The Carey Center Nonprofit Affiliates are the first to learn about upcoming programming, and membership is free. We are excited to announce that we have partnered with Dr. Socash and are now offering the Carey Center Nonprofit Professional Certificate. This is an online, non-degreed certificate and offered through a partnership with Auburn University and Merit Nonprofit Professional Development and provides a tailored curriculum for nonprofit professionals. Merit is an anytime, anywhere micro-learning platform that builds 6 nonprofit proficiency areas, which include leading, learning, resource generating, planning, managing, and overseeing through 28 learning paths. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you at one of our monthly virtual programs or in person for our nonprofit training series currently traveling the state. And Emily, I see a few questions.
Yes, yes. So Teresa, I'll start with you because you're the easy one. I dropped my email into the chat. It's also on the deck. Reach me anytime. I do this stuff all the time. And if you can't tell, this fills my bucket. So I love doing these sorts of things. Now, Benedict asked, perfect question. I love that you chimed in with this. So Benedict asked, when you finally accomplish your mission, do you close or redesign a new mission? I am reminded of the March of Dimes. Most of us, I think, know the March of Dimes. March of Dimes started like 1,000,000 years ago, right? To combat childhood polio. And they had this amazing campaign through the middle of the 20th century where they were collecting dimes to find a cure, to fund research, to give polio survivor support, all of those things related to childhood polio. And here's the great thing that happened with the March of Dimes. They were successful. and a vaccine for polio, which many, hopefully all of us have enjoyed, our children enjoy, and polio has largely been eradicated in the Western world, thanks to, much in part to the work of the March of Dimes. Yet, the March of Dimes leadership had to ask this question. Okay, so we were successful, yay us. What do we do now? And don't quote me on it because I don't have their mission statement memorized, but they did a pivot and they said, okay, we're going to take what we learned about that success because we really did a great job. Took time, but we did a great job. We were successful. And now they are all about fighting preventable illness in moms and babies. Same mission, almost like an expanded mission. So I think that their experience, Benedict, to your question, I think that their experience is kind of textbook. They kept what worked. They said, what's an expansive version of what we just did? Now you could do a more contracted version as well, depending on, what your organization or what your personal mission is. However, there's something about your mission that remains as the scaffolding for what comes next. So I highly encourage, any nonprofit that is at the point of saying, in part or in full, we have met our mission. Take those great strengths, learnings, findings, practices, all of that management side of things, and think some big thoughts about what comes next that makes sense, that can stand atop the shoulders of our success. I hope that that's helpful, Benedict. We could do like one tiny, teeny last question if anybody has anything else. But while you're thinking of that, I will speak one more thing to Teresa's question about the best way to contact me about potential speaking. So just so you know, I do workshops like this. My other topics include beating burnout in the nonprofit sector, self-compassion and self-care is all in the nonprofit sector. Self-compassion and self-care while building capacity. What does nonprofit capacity look like in 2024? And the culture code, building a culture of learning. So anything that's about really rah-rahing and building up your team and your functionality, I'm here for you. So please feel free to reach out. Oh, Teresa, pish posh. You're all heroes. We're all good. It's great. Thank you, Brittany, for having me. And I look forward to everybody seeing you on a future workshop or webinar. And please do continue, check out and support and be a part of the Carey Center ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Emily. And like Emily said, she's speaking for us again on July 11th about courageous self-care. So please come back. You'll be getting emails from us about that virtual program. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.